The broadcast reached every corner of the galaxy. From the gas cities of Helios Minor to the mining tunnels of CRYTH7, screens ignited with a single, unified stream. Civilian markets went still. Military stations fell silent. Diplomats, rebels, workers, and drifters paused. Everyone watched. On the screen, a girl knelt beneath sterile white lights. No restraints. No guards. Just a 16-year-old human, pale, trembling, barefoot, on a polished obsidian floor. Her brown hair clung to her face in blood-matted strands. Her left eye was swollen shut. Her hands hung limp at her sides. But she held her spine straight. Behind her, rising like a spire of hate, stood Supreme Strategist Velzan. He was tall even by Zalari standards, skeletal limbs encased in obsidian armor, 6 yellow eyes set above a slit of a mouth that had never smiled. His voice, when it came, reverberated in 12 frequencies designed to bypass conscious resistance. This human, Lyra Rook, was found in violation of Imperial Data Code 717 Delta. Espionage. Sabotage. Subversion. His voice was calm, theatrical. Lies spoken with surgical detachment. As a message to her species, and to all who would challenge the natural order, justice will be delivered. Publicly. Immediately. Lyra raised her chin slightly. Her lips parted. "You're afraid of us," she said. Her voice was hoarse but clear. It echoed across millions of speakers. Velzan's jaw twitched. A murmur rippled through the crowd of alien elites seated behind him. But he continued as if uninterrupted. "The penalty is disintegration." A technician approached the dais and activated the execution pillar, an ancient Solari weapon repurposed for ceremonial kills. The beam emitter above Lyra flickered to life with a low hum. The girl didn't plead. She didn't cry. She looked straight into the lens and whispered, "I'm not afraid." Then she was gone. Vaporized in a silent flash. Somewhere on Earth, the sky dimmed. Commander Talia Rook stood alone in the operations core beneath Olympus Mons. The room was dark, lit only by the final still frame of her sister's form dissolving into nothing. Her eyes did not water. Her face did not flinch. Around her, technicians and analysts held their breath, staring at consoles that had not moved. Not a single word was spoken. It was not shock. It was something deeper. Older. Talia reached into her pocket, pulled out a small black key, and inserted it into the central command pedestal. A soft chime. The pedestal split open to reveal a drive unit marked Revenant. "Are you sure?" whispered a voice behind her. She answered without turning. "They made this choice." She plugged it in. Across 5 galaxies, in forgotten satellites and dead relay stations, something stirred. Codes long buried beneath quantum encryption began to unfurl. Artificial intelligences blinked into sentience, cold, calculating, dormant since the last Terran war. Civilian ships altered course. Merchant stations began data purges. Deep space observation platforms changed their broadcasts. A signal pulsed once. Then again. And again. 47 minutes? In the heart of the Zalari Empire, Velzan returned to his private chamber. He removed his armor, cleaned his claws, and studied his reflection in the mirrored obsidian. "She was irrelevant," he muttered. A calm ping interrupted the quiet. "Supreme Strategist," said his second voice. "We've detected a burst of human signal activity. Nonspecific. Spread across 16 sectors." Velzan narrowed his eyes. "A tantrum. Possibly. But the phrase repeating across civilian bands is strange." "Speak." The second voice hesitated. 47 minutes. Nothing else. Velzan waved the feed closed. Meaningless. Psychological games. The humans always thought themselves clever. He would remind them who owned the stars. Meanwhile, the stars had already begun to shift. On the colony world of New Warsaw, human citizens calmly filed into subterranean shelters. Streetlights dimmed. Hovertrams halted mid-line. Advertisements vanished from public screens, replaced by a single symbol, a stylized raven wing wrapped in barbed circuitry. In the orbital dockyards above Venus, ships marked as merchant cargo vanished into stealth mode. Navigation beacons along trade routes went dark. Entire civilian networks disconnected from the galactic net. On Kestrel 9, a Zalari supply station suffered a coolant malfunction. Within seconds, its fusion core collapsed in a controlled implosion. Nearby, a human salvage vessel drifted by, silent, unnoticed. Back on Earth, deep within the ice caverns of Europa, a room-sized AI known only as Ember powered on for the first time in a century. Its first word: engaged. Talia stood before a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red nodes flickered across it like fireflies, each one a pressure point. Each one a promise. A young officer entered the room, pale-faced. "Ma'am," he said, swallowing hard. "We've just received word. The Omega Vale AI is showing instability. 5 Zalari military outposts have gone silent. 3 rebellions have sparked in the inner rim." "Good," Talia replied. The officer hesitated. What happens after 47 minutes? Talia didn't answer immediately. Instead, she zoomed the map toward the Empire's capital world, Zealer Prime. Dozens of human satellites surrounded it, invisible, silent. Placed there years ago. Waiting. "Then," she said, "we finish what they started." Back on Zealer Prime, the feed from Lyra's execution was being replayed. Over and over. Edited clips circulated among alien forums, mocked and dissected. But on human channels, it played raw, uninterrupted. The moment her voice cut through the silence. "You're afraid of us." Not a battle cry. Not a curse. Just a truth. Human hearts across the stars heard it. They did not shout. They did not riot. They prepared. T-47:00. On Zealer Prime, the heart of the Empire pulsed with routine. Markets thrived under metallic arches, bureaucrats shuffled through data scrolls, and above it all, orbital rings shimmered with imperial traffic. No one noticed that the central transit relays had gone quiet. No one questioned the sudden lag in communication between core fleets. The Empire believed it was too large to fall, too ancient to fear. Then, in a mining colony on the edge of the Vorus Belt, the first facility vanished. It wasn't bombed. It simply disappeared. No explosion. No signal. No debris. One moment it existed. The next, the Empire had a crater where its central antimatter forge had once been. Within minutes, 6 more facilities, hydro-processing, cyber control, drone hangars, went dark across the outer ring. Internal sensors reported no weapons fire. Just systems blinking out of existence. T-43:00. On Earth, Commander Talia Rook stood still as the holographic galaxy before her bled red 1-star system at a time. "Valkyrie teams have completed infiltration cycles in Zone Delta," an analyst reported. "Operation Holocry successful. Civilian shields are holding." Talia gave a single nod. "Proceed to Phase 2. Confirmed." Behind her, a walled display showed timelines for over 200 simultaneous operations. Nothing was chaotic. Every action, every strike, every failure cascade had been engineered years ago. In silence. In patience. In expectation of this day. T-41:00. Velzan paced his war chamber, mandibles clicking in irritation. Red alarms pinged across the Empire's defense grid. He stared at a hollow feed as the planet Gyrith, an agricultural supplier, erupted into riot. "How?" he demanded. His third strategist, a younger Zalari with trembling limbs, answered cautiously. "Localized system failures supreme. Atmospheric regulators, power grids, they failed within seconds of each other. All human settled zones evacuated before the failures." "Coincidence?" Velzan snapped. "There are reports, sir, that the evacuations were prepared in advance." Velzan's fingers dug into the edge of the war table. "You're suggesting they knew? They planned, Supreme. And not recently. These implants, these sleeper codes, They must have been seeded decades ago. T-38:00. On the trade moon Virelis, overseen by Zalari Command, the sky turned black as EMP bursts detonated in orbit. Data centers fried. Cloning banks vaporized. A fleet attempted to jump to safety, 30 ships strong. They never arrived. Human saboteurs had rewritten their hyperspace coordinates weeks earlier, hiding the change behind dummy data. The fleet leapt into the corona of a dead star. Talia watched the outcome in silence. They erased us for one girl, she whispered. We'll erase them for every one they never let grow. T-34:00. Broadcasts meant to be internal Empire communications began leaking across public channels. Visuals of Zalari leaders panicking. Colonies rioting. Orders contradicting themselves. The Omega Veil, Zalari's strategic defense AI, began issuing kill-switch commands to its own fleets, unsure whether the information it processed was valid. Human-crafted logic bombs had infected its decision core, splitting its responses into chaotic loops. An elite Zalari admiral screamed across a failing comms link. Are we attacking ourselves? Yes, came a calm human voice just before the line died. T-30:00. Rebellion, like wildfire, consumed the outer systems. On Lorik 12, slaves once bred for obedience turned on their handlers, armed with makeshift blades and stolen stunners. On Decon Station, a preacher of the Aphali faith chanted ancient human words as followers dismantled Zalari guard drones piece by piece. Talia had seeded those rebellions long ago. Quiet visits. Untraceable aid. Hope, planted like seeds under stone. Now, all across the stars, it bloomed in fire. T-28:00. Velzen watched as 2 of his core intelligence hubs were erased within seconds. Not destroyed, wiped from existence, as if they had never been built. This is not vengeance, he hissed. This is extermination. Another officer approached, paler than usual. There's a message on all frequencies, sir. Human origin. Velzan turned sharply. Play it. A projection filled the room. It was her. Lyra Rook. Or rather, her likeness, digitally reconstructed, voice smoothed into eerie clarity. I was 16. I wanted to fly ships, not fight empires. You killed me because you thought it would scare them. But they don't scare. Not when it matters. Silence followed. Then, a second voice. Talia's. This is not anger. This is precision. We didn't forget. We remembered. And we built this for you. T-2300 hours. Zalari planetary governors began abandoning their posts. Escaped ships crowded the jump corridors, only to find the routes sealed. Human-controlled ships had activated black zone barriers, locking down the Empire's own exits. Entire systems were trapped. Panicked governors broadcast offers of surrender, pleading for terms. No response came. T-1900 hours. Within Earth Command, a young officer approached Talia, visibly shaking. Ma'am, updates from the Serevith cluster. 6 sectors have declared independence. They've requested immediate alliance. They call us the fire that speaks. Talia didn't look up from the battle map. Tell them we're not gods, she said. We're the answer to arrogance. T-1600 hours. Empire-wide networks failed. Cities reliant on orbital processors descended into darkness. AI traffic directors lost control. Trade halted. Entire species, long bound to Zalari systems, turned against their former masters in rage. On the once proud academic world of Varn, human sigils were painted in burning color across the halls of the Central Archive. One message in Terran English flickered on every screen. She died. You fall. T-10 o'clock. Back in Velzan's chamber, his final communication burst through static. Talia Rook stood at full height, wrapped in black tactical armor. Her expression was unreadable. Her eyes merciless. Commander Rook, Velzan rasped. You're ending an empire. I'm ending a mistake, she replied. We brought order. Discipline. Without us, the stars will burn. Talia leaned closer to the camera. You murdered a child to prove a point. Now the stars burn for you. T 10 o'clock. The countdown echoed across frequencies, embedded in every remaining Imperial channel. Red numerals crawled toward zero, indifferent to chaos, unaffected by pleading. Zeta Prime's sky cracked with sonic booms as civilian ships overloaded jump lanes. Massive haulers collided mid-descent, breaking apart in arcs of flame. Below, the once pristine capital world turned into a frenzied maelstrom of smoke, light, and unanswered screams. Velzan stood before the central control spire, jaw clenched. His command center reeked of burnt circuitry and panicked sweat. Dozens of officers had abandoned their posts or turned their sidearms on themselves. He remained. Pride held him in place longer than reason. Bring her to me, he growled. The feed stabilized. Talia Rook appeared, no armor, no insignia. Just a human woman standing still in a room that glowed with finality. Her eyes met his. Steady. Unflinching. This is madness, Velzan said, voice low and cracked. Talia didn't respond immediately. She let the silence settle like ash. You executed my sister, she said finally. On a stage. For the galaxy to see. To prove your dominance. She was a criminal. She was a kid. Velzan's mandibles shifted, eyes twitching. You've killed billions in response. This is not justice. It's obliteration. Talia's expression didn't shift. It was never about justice. It's about memory. T 7 o'clock. In orbit above Zeta Prime, human stealth fleets emerged from the shadows. They had been waiting, completely invisible, positioned for years, protected by quantum cloaking nets and AI signal dampeners. Each vessel now powered up without urgency, like wolves waking from a patient slumber. Orbital defense rings attempted to respond. They failed. The Omega Veil AI, once the Empire's great strategic mind, had fractured hours ago. Its subroutines looped endlessly through fake alerts and phantom invasions. By the time the Zalari defense crews noticed the human warships, they were already in firing formation. Talia gave no order. The ships fired anyway. Precision strikes, targeting military infrastructure only. No waste. No spectacle. No mercy. T 5 o'clock. Below, the palace gardens burned. Velzan stumbled into his private sanctum, the roof half collapsed. The walls, once adorned with the history of 1,000 conquests, now bore streaks of soot and fractured glass. In the center of the room, a small statue of the Empire's founder cracked down the middle, split cleanly by a tremor. He activated his personal jump beacon, a desperate bid to escape. It blinked red. Locked. Of course, he whispered. She closed the gates. T 4 o'clock. On Earth, a crowd stood silently before the Unity Spire in New Geneva. No celebration. No cheers. A giant display showed the final live transmission from Zeta Prime. Not the devastation. Not the fire. Just the clock. Talia stood alone in the operations core, eyes locked on the end. She heard footsteps. An aide approached, hesitant. Ma'am. The Empire has no remaining fleets in the Inner Rim. Most planetary governors have surrendered. Shall I inform the Council? No, she said. They already know. T 2 o'clock. In a secured sector of the capital, a Zalari child, a girl with soft, copper skin and wide, frightened eyes, hid beneath a collapsed shuttle wing. She clutched a stuffed star beast, trembling. A human operative, young, unshaven, bleeding from his temple, found her. She flinched as he approached. He knelt slowly, took off his helmet, and placed it beside her. I'm not here to hurt you, he said quietly. I'm here because someone has to survive this. She stared at him. He extended a small ration bar. No words passed between them. She took it. T 1 o'clock. Velzan opened his final channel, one that no codebreaker could intercept. Talia appeared again, her face cast in pale light. This won't end with us, he said, voice thin. The void abhors weakness. Someone will rise to challenge you. Then we'll rise to meet them, she said. You've become what you claim to despise. No, she said. We just remembered how to fight like we used to, when survival wasn't guaranteed. Velzan's eyes dimmed. What are you? Talia leaned forward. The consequence. T+ midnight. At the center of Zealer Prime's sun, a dormant device, one seated by a cargo ship decades ago, activated. It wasn't a bomb. It was a gravitational shift generator. A gentle nudge to physics. Enough to destabilize the star's internal balance. The sun began to collapse, not into a nova, but into silence. The Empire's heart dimmed. T+2 o'clock. Broadcasts across the galaxy faded to black. Then, a final message blinked across every screen, terminal, and lens, translated into 1,000 languages. She was 16. She loved the stars. You killed her. So we tore down the sky. And then nothing. T+8 o'clock. The war was over. Not with fanfare. Not with parades. Just quiet. Humanity had not claimed the Empire's throne. They hadn't renamed planets or demanded tribute. They simply stopped. The fleets returned home. The weapons powered down. The ashes were left to settle on their own. On Earth, beneath the silver canopy of Europa's garden domes, Talia knelt at the base of a small tree. Its bark had been scorched once, long ago, in a training accident Lyra had caused as a child. Talia had almost cut it down. She was glad she didn't. The tree was taller now. Stronger. Carved in its bark. Lyra Rook, 3171 to 3187. She reached for the stars. A breeze stirred. Behind her, a cadet waited patiently. Commander, he said gently. What happens next? Talia looked up at the stars. No, she said. We build something worth remembering. And for the first time in 47 minutes, the galaxy was quiet.